Ready for what?
Some competition.
Oh, I'm ready.
Let's go.
I won.
Turn around and look at mine compared to yours.
I won. Totally, I
No.
won. I did do the dip of death at the end, but I totally won.
Turn around and look at mine compared to yours. Turn it around.
Okay, everybody, it's your boy Gene back out at the range again today. Got my wife with me with the Canik MC9LS, and I have my Sauer X Macro. This is the TAC Ops. I'm going to try to give comparison of the non-TAC Ops version, with the understanding that the only real difference is that it comes with 4 magazines. On the TAC Ops, it has the flared mag well, which you can also put on the X Macro, and it has the extended slide lock. Other than that, essentially the same gun. So just starting out by saying, if you've watched the channel for any length of time, you know that I EDC the TAC Ops or the X Macro quite often. It's become one of my favorite EDCs. Very easy to hold, very comfortable, thin, very easy to conceal, and I shot good enough with it. So and my wife did as well. So it has become an EDC. So when I heard that Canik of all people was releasing a gun that was comparable to it or to compete with it, again, Canik, I didn't call Canik up and ask them this. This is something I heard another YouTuber say. It's something I've heard some folks say in the gun store. Canik didn't write me a letter and tell me they made this specifically to compete with this gun. That's just what I have heard. Again, I look at reviews, or I'm sorry, I look at new releases. I go out and I buy them. I try to stay away from other people's reviews as not to be biased and give my own opinion about something. But I've always liked the Canik. I like the original Canik MC9. I had no problems with it. And so I was quite intrigued that they would make something that was comparable to one of my favorite EDCs. So I am going to go over some of the specifications, although I'll say up front, as long as it is close, and as you can see, it is pretty dang close, most of those things are not going to matter to me as much as how do I shoot it, how does it carry, can I be proficient with it, can I stay on target, can my wife shoot it as good as she did the other. And that's the kind of comparison I care about, shot placement, things like that. But here on the table, before we get over to the range and compare it there, I am going to go through some of the specifications. So the X Macro did come with 4 magazines, as I said, but they both come with 2 17-round magazines. They both have interchangeable back straps. And also, this back strap on the Canik, I noticed on all of the back straps that they have threads here, so it's been tapped and threaded, and I can only assume that would be for a flared mag well of some sort to go on there. Now, whether or not they make that already, I don't know. I did a quick search, couldn't really find anything. Maybe that's something for the future, I don't know, but it looks as though you will be able to put a flared mag well on there at some point, if not already. But again, they both do have interchangeable back straps, 2 17-round magazines. They do not have, neither one of them has a ambi mag release, and the only thing ambi on the Canik would be the slide lock. No ambi slide lock or slide release on the X Macro. They both have 3-slot accessory rails on the front. The X Macro has a significantly larger trigger guard than the Canik. They both are, I'm sorry, no. So there are no serrations on the front of the trigger guard for the X Macro. There are serrations on the front of the trigger guard of the Canik, although personally I would prefer the larger trigger guard. So on the SIG, you do have the more flat face, if you will, trigger, and it does break at 90 degrees, and the trigger reset is kind of long, but it is very tactile, audibly, and you can feel it pushing back on your finger. So it is a good trigger for a SIG. I'm not typically a huge fan of SIG triggers, but it's all right. It's a good trigger. It is a flat face trigger, which is all the rage, and it does break at 90 degrees. Now, with that being said, the Canik trigger, as I have often said, has a huge amount of take up, and I guess you could say that breaks at 90 degrees. It just does so further back. So it does have seemingly more take up than the SIG does, right? Yeah, significant amount more take up than does the SIG. But where the Canik comes home is that crazy, crazy short, audible, tactile reset. I don't believe that there is a striker fired pistol in the industry, stock trigger, that is better than the Canik. I just don't. It's a tremendous trigger. So before this review even or comparison even started, I can tell you of a certainty that the Canik was already going to win when it came to the trigger. I've never been a huge fan of the trigger on the 6 Sauer anyway. They both have front and rear very functional serrations, both very able to manipulate the slide with the front serration, and same as on the SIG here, it does feel as though the spring, it feels tighter sprung on the, now I don't know the difference in the spring weight, but it feels like the Canik is certainly tighter sprung, so the slide is not as smooth, although I have shot this particular pistol way more than I have the Canik. I've only put about 250 rounds through the Canik. They're both optic ready, flush mount. You do not need a plate to flush mount the RMSC footprint. That they both will flush mount the optic. Okay, so the sights. So the sights are definitely better on the SIG. There's no question about that. The SIG has the 3-dot night sights. I think they're called X-ray SIG, X-ray 3-dot night sight, something like that. So it does have the nice green front dot on there. And if you've already watched the initial range review that I've done on the MC9, you'll remember me saying that I wasn't a huge fan. I do like the big, how large the white dot is on the front, but shooting in the sun and shooting at my white steel plates, I just was not a huge fan of the sights on the Canik. And if I were to keep it, I probably would replace them, raise this rear sight just a little bit to get a little bit better co-witness, although I get the same co-witness 1/8 or whatever it is with the SIG as well, so not much better there. But I would certainly, if not changing out the rear sight, I would certainly change the front sight. Now, as far as feeling the hand, so I did change the back strap out to a medium. So it came from the factory with the small on there. I tried the large, it was a little too much. I put the medium on here. And as far as feeling the hand, it does feel really nice in the hand. But I don't know if you can see where it hits the web of my hand right there. Now, there's no chance that there's going to be any slide bite for sure, right? So it is nicely cut, you know, deep. It is a deep beaver tail there. However, on the SIG, if you can see the difference, how much further back it comes into the web of my hand there. So it is a deeper beaver tail. It's extended here, if you will. So it does allow me to have a much more sure purchase on the gun, and it seems thinner through the grip here. So if I'm just putting them both up side by side, visually, I can't really see it right here in this area here. It looks like it's a lot thinner on the SIG. Visually, it's hard to tell, but in the hand, the Canik definitely feels thicker through the grip, so it does not feel as good in the hand. So the Canik does not feel as good in the hand as this. They are again very similar to 17 round mags. Stippling on the grip, front, back, rear, side, all basically feel exactly the same. The feel in the hand a little bit better on the SIG, trigger way better on the Canik as would be expected, like the trigger guard better on the SIG. Both optic ready flush mount, both have front rear serrations. And so the only thing left is how does it shoot? You know, how fast it shoot, how accurate does it shoot, how proficient can you be with the gun, and of course the difference in weight. So on the Canik, just kind of go through some of this. Again, a lot of this stuff does not matter because, again, I worry more about how does it shoot, how does it carry, how am I with the gun. So the weight on the Canik is 23.77 ounces. The weight on the SIG is 22.8 ounces. So as I would have expected, the Canik is a little bit weightier. It does weigh a little bit more. So go down to the overall length on the SIG. The overall length is 6.6 inches, and the overall length on the Canik is 6.7 inches. So the Canik again a little tad bit longer than the SIG is. The barrel length on the Canik is 3.54, and the barrel length, I'm sorry, yeah, my wife's correcting me. I'm blind as a bat. So the barrel length on the Canik is 3.64, and the barrel length on the SIG is 3.71. So actually the barrel, surprisingly enough, is a little bit longer on the SIG, but again, these things are super close. So the height on the Canik is 5.43. The height on the SIG is 5.2. So the the width is what I was saying you couldn't really see it with your naked eye. So the width on the Canik is 1.14 inches, and the overall width on the SIG is 1.4 inches. So my eyeballs were lying to me. So they're both the same thickness or width, if you will, through the grip area here. Now, when it says overall width, let me rephrase that. When it says overall width, I'm not 100% sure if it's talking about on the slide or if it's talking about through the frame. I would imagine that what it's doing is it's taking the widest point. So wherever that widest point is on the gun, no matter where it's at, it's taking that widest point and it's using that as the width measurement. So what that tells me is that the grip on the Canik is no more thick and or no more thin than is on the SIG X Macro. So why does the X Macro feel better in the hand? Well, it could be that it's cut deeper under the trigger guard here, or cut differently. There's a divot, if you will, here under the trigger guard here. It just feels better, and I'm going to say that this much more extended beaver tail here would attribute to just how much better this gun feels in the hand than does the Canik. Now, with that said, does the Canik not feel good in the hand? No, it feels amazing in the hand. The Canik feels fine. We shot the Canik, my wife and I. She actually embarrassed me with the Canik. So they both felt great in the hand. This one just feels better. So better trigger on the Canik, better feel in the hand on the SIG, better sights on the SIG, and from what I can remember, I feel like I and my wife both shot better with the Canik, but it has been a while since I shot this one. So they are super close in comparison for me and what I like about each one. So I can't really pick. It's gonna have to come down to how it performs on the range, and that would be my deciding factor. And you got to take into consideration a price difference as well, because the Canik right now anyway can be had for $499. I'm sure that's full MSRP right now. So whereas I'm certain that the SIG, I'm pretty sure they go for somewhere around $700, I think, something like that. And again, this was around $500. So you're looking at $150, $200 difference between the two. So you got to take that into consideration too. You know, as per usual with the Canik, you get the brush, you get the cleaning rod, you get the little toolkit here, you get the little punch, you get the nice little carrying case, of course, you get the mag loader. So all of that comes with the Canik, just like on the other ones. Again, you got to take into consideration price, but you can't really put a price on how you perform. Also, the Canik came with a nice little inside outside the waistband holster, but you really can't put a price on, you know, how you perform with a gun or your personal safety. So it's really just comes down to how one performs with the gun as to whether or not they choose one over the other. Again, this is not a deep dive in the barrel materials and finishes and all of that stuff. I'll try to do that too. This is just a quick side-by-side comparison of the two, and I'm going to do another just like this on the range. Me and my wife both shooting it, seeing which one we shoot better with, and do a range comparison as well. I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, if I did not address it here, I will absolutely answer your questions in the comment section. Without doubt, I will. Just hit me up. I'll get back with you. If I don't know, I will find out. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Go over, consider supporting me on Patreon. $5 a month, I get 4 of that. It's a huge help if I can get a bunch of people over there supporting me. And the most important thing you can do is make sure you know Jesus Christ is your Savior. If you don't know how, you can ask me, comment, email, and be sure to take care of that today. And again, hit the thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. It's the only way we can keep doing this. And as always, to God be the glory.